Welcome to the first ever season of Yeah the Girls, the official Geelong Cats AFLW podcast brought to you by Deakin University, home to the world's #1 sports science school. Good morning, girls. It's been a great weekend. How is it?
What a weekend.
The weather? Spring weather is out and about.
It's back. So even Sunday rolled into a great day after a great win.
What a stunning weekend. Good morning to you both anyways, G.
And we're
how are
set
you
up
all?
in a great spot.
Aren't we?
We are. We're
You?
in our warm-up area here, and I think the last time we were here, we were all singing the song, which is always a nice way to start the weekend, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think we've been perfectly positioned. Even, well, if you're looking at the vision, if you're watching it, we've got the little rebound net behind us. So Jake's done well to really situate us in a great
We've
spot.
got the
in our
Deakin
facility.
University logo in the back.
Yes, exactly.
We spend a lot of time in this room, don't we?
We do. It's a great space. It's a
Oh,
great
it is
space.
good.
And what a win Saturday it was, and I think that's the reason we're all feeling a bit up and about. And obviously for those that had some family time yesterday with Father's Day too, is always a nice way to back up a nice win on the weekend. How are you girls feeling after the weekend? Obviously, build up to round one is always is we get that a bit of emotions going and the excitement. And I know we're all a bit on the edge of our seat last week talking about our first round against the Bulldogs. So first, I suppose feelings post game. G, how are we on the back of that?
Oh my goodness, the feeling in the room, the feeling on the race, even like just before the siren went, as the siren went. I mean, we caught up for coffee this morning and just there was a lot of feeling even in the pre-game speech. We think maybe the coach was holding back a few tears as he spoke about how connected he felt to the whole group. And as you looked around the huddle and even as you walked out to the race and, you know, those of our extended group, you know, the non-selected and those that are injured, we're just getting around each other and you'd lock eyes. I think, you know, Meg's a big one on that is if you're going up and you're giving someone a high five, lock eyes with them. And I think that just had every single person around the room feeling so much a part of what was about to happen. And then at the end of the game, what we'd achieved across the board, and everyone got in. When we came inside, everyone was in the huddle singing, and that is always special when you go, out on the ground it may have been, you know, the 21 of us, but once you come in, it's every single person that is part of our group that trained during the week that got us prepared for that game. That's my favourite, when everyone gets to come back in and sing the song together.
And it takes everyone within a program to get the job done. And I think that's certainly, for the 21 that had the opportunity to play and played their role on the day. But I think for those that didn't, and there was some scrimmage happening the morning, and as you said, the lead up, there was just a great vibe around the importance of everyone playing their role. And I think, Beck, from you, is that something you noticed watching the game?
Yeah, absolutely. It was this feeling inside of me that I was like, I just want to be out there running around with you girls. But it was so, I was mentioning earlier that I was so fatigued mentally after the game compared to if I were to play. Like, you're obviously so cooked, but after the game I was so fatigued because I felt like I was playing everyone's role. Like I was just watching and so engaged and like, oh, do this, Grok, and then you do this, So it was, I remember coming home on Saturday night being like, I am ruined. Just because I felt like I was playing everyone's game out there, and it was just so nice to see all the hard work and dedication you girls have put over the pre-season, and it pay off in our scoring ability and our pressure around the footy, and our defence held up really well in the moments that counted. So, it was so cool to be able to watch you girls just go out and smash it. And some honourable mentions as well. A few really standout performances across the board. I thought, you know, Prez played a great game.
Didn't she?
In and under. I think was it a triple-double?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
35, 10 clearances, 12 tackles.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The second time to happen. Oh, wow.
Second time ever in the history of the game.
AMAC's done it, so is it both those two?
Wow.
That's
That is
insane.
unreal. That is
So, I thought
good.
both those girls are great. Jackie Parry.
Oh,
Yeah.
3
Wasn't she
goals.
Amazing.
And we've seen her over this pre-season really playing her role and taking ownership of that. And I think it was really great to see, I suppose, that come to fruition in terms of what we knew that she could do in there, and she was on, and I think that's like you look around the ground and you could continue to name player after player that was playing their role and doing what they needed to do. Obviously, we had 3 debuts in the hoops as well, and didn't each of those girls do their thing? We had Abby McDonald, which, G, do you want to touch on Abs' performance? Obviously, you're down there in the back line with her.
Oh, absolutely. She just took her moment. And having a first game player come on, I think the first thing she got a mark and she just took her time, totally composed, hit up a free player. I think her first 2 possessions were just taking the ball and hitting someone up, that simple kick. If they're free, hit them and we can get moving on. Nothing, you didn't have to create too much. And just the way she moved through traffic, there was a couple times, I think significantly, where she comes through and she looks off the line, she changes angles for us and we're then directly, direct line into goal. So she just looked completely in her place there. But I just wanted to touch on in saying that around our, AMAC and Pres, our major ball winners, I know that there's a big focus this pre-season on that role clarity. And when you look at those, big ball winners inside, you then make the mentions to people like yourself, Nay, as that, extra, the defensive midfielder. And your role is, it's hard. Everyone wants to be in under and finding the footy, but having that discipline to then actually hold out, be that supporting role, maybe you're that release handball and you do it so well. You have Darcy rolls in there, does it so well, Nina. So that creates the opportunity for our ball winners to know, I know I've got support once I get it, and for them to go, I'm trusting you to win it. So I think, mentioning those outer layers as well makes those ball winners, so be able to play their role so confidently. And I think it would be wrong of us not to mention how huge it was to see you come back, Nay, off the back of, last year we had 2 seasons in one. So when you have a bub, it's hard to get yourself back in time when they overlap like that. But you've had an unbelievable pre-season and you've always been hard and resilient, but there's just, once you've had a baby, there's not much harder than that, is there?
No, it's incredible stuff, Nay, and we're all so proud to see you back out there in the hoops and doing those. You do those 1%ers really well for the team, and it definitely goes unnoticed. It doesn't go unnoticed. So
thank you, Rose.
So nice to see you out there.
Oh, it was so nice to be out there, and I think, I was talking to you this morning about the last time that I played was March 2021, and the way we were playing was very different, and the personnel was different in terms of we've got a number of new players within our program. And it was just really great to be part of what I've seen you girls do over the last couple of seasons. And Becky, I can relate to the feeling of how mentally draining it is watching. I think it's sometimes more nerve-wracking watching because you can't actually have you can't have energy in the next moment. So, no, thank you. That's very kind of you. But it was so good to be back out there.
Do you want to describe that feeling you had probably in the change rooms getting your hoops back on for the first time?
Yeah, I was trying not to let any more emotion in. I mentioned, I think a couple of people might have seen the socials during the week with some tears when Dan told me I was playing.
That was so beautiful.
Yeah, I am not a crier, but I've definitely cried more since having children, I think. It's hormones, it's maybe a little bit of lack of sleep early days, but no, it was really special putting the hoops on again and knowing I got to this point. I suppose you do all the work, and all along I've been trying to control what I could control. I couldn't just it's up to the coaches in terms of who they select on any given day and if there's an opportunity there. So not knowing if that was ever going to happen again, and for it to happen was very, very special, and just wanting to go out there and play a role, and that was my aim on the weekend. And but it was very, very special, and I'm thankful to have got to do it on the weekend, and to walk away with the win was so good. So
cherry on top. And you got to do it obviously alongside Ez, so that would have been really special as well, because as we mentioned, one of, was here at the very beginning. Oh, thanks, Gaz. We may mention, because we are in the warm-up room, we may have a few people that like to jump in maybe throughout the podcast, so we'll try and keep on track. But yes, it was great to see Ez out there as well.
It was.
Spud.
Yeah, so Kate Sermon, Spud, and we'll probably touch on her a few times throughout this podcast, had a ripper first game back. Yeah. And as I said, we'll touch on that a little bit more, but it was really great to see her in the hoops. I think she got a little bit emotional with her jumper being presented. I think it was Darbs, wasn't it, that was making a speech around Spud and her being a fan of the Cats growing up, but then to go out there and play for a 12-year-old self.
12-year-old self. That was the part that hit me, I thought. Because she's mentioned that a lot. She's very grateful for that, you know, having as much time in the game as possible. She brings it up a lot, and I just think it's such a good reminder, especially for those that come through that are about to embark on a really long career, to cherish it, even though you've got all that time ahead of you. Because for some who, you know, I guess towards the back end, it's pretty, I think, eye-opening to kind of recognise, yes, we do have this opportunity.
Sorry.
And I think also with Spud, like she's played a couple of clubs, so she's an experienced player. She's played at Port Adelaide and obviously at Gold Coast, and potentially the ball wasn't coming inside 50 as much as she got the opportunity to on the weekend. I think we got to see what her potential is and her work up the ground, which again, we'll touch on that a little bit more a little bit later on. Aishling was our other debut, and she's actually our guest on today, so excited to chat with her. She's a really good speaker, and I'm really looking forward to her.
She is, but if you are listening to the podcast, you might just have to like go in half speed because she's got a very thick accent, and
she's the hardest to understand out of the three of them, I reckon.
You got to really watch her sort of mouth when she's speaking, but we'll make sure she speaks slower for you guys to hear in all her insights of the game and how she went.
But she was great. So really pleased again across the board. We've got everyone playing their role. Our debutants having great games, and lots of it we can take away from the weekend and be excited about future rounds, can't we?
Should mention 65-17, the scoreline. 10 goals, 5 behinds for us, which is great. So definitely what we've been sort of working on, converting in the forward line and making sure we're getting that score on the board. So it was great to see that sort of pay off round one and hopefully throughout the rest of the season as well with our ball movement. So good shout, girls.
Yeah. Now I'd like to finish off with our Deakin University High Performer of the Week as we wrap up chatting around the game, and as again we'll chat with Aishling a little bit more later on, and chatting pre-pod. We all couldn't go past Kate Sermon. Obviously there was some other great performances and some individuals that did some massive things, but Georgie, what was it in Spud's game that you see as her being the high performer this week?
Oh, her high speed meters, even just endurance wise, making her way across the ground, she covers it so well. And I think what really stood out to me was, you know, knowing what we value as a group. And at halftime, before we went back out again, Dan he pointed her out and just said, I just cannot tell you how much I value what you do. Those high forwards, or that high forward role, can be so unrewarded at times, just from their tackle pressure, you know, getting to the fall of the ball and then probably just whipping little hands out. So for her to then get 2 on the board off the back of playing, probably a role that can sometimes go a little bit undervalued to the greater eye, was just so nice to see. And I think we've all mentioned this morning her left foot snap. She's been practicing that left foot.
She has.
All pre-season.
I had a kick with her on Friday actually, and she was still there like practicing that and doing a few different things. There was a couple of big marking contests as well. She's not huge in size, but she just plays
totally
as bigger than what she is, and sold a bit of candy.
Oh,
a couple of moments I was like, yeah, you did. Like,
I loved watching her game because the last kind of couple of practice matches and in training, I think sometimes she's doubted what she's been doing or second guessed some stuff, but I thought on the weekend she just played off instinct, and it was great to watch her just, you know, take it on, bring that forward line pressure, do that unrewarded running, which in the end got her 2 goals and what was it, 17 disposals or something like that. So she absolutely had a great game.
So well done, Spud, for the Deakin University High Performer of the Week. After a short little break, we're going to come back with our guest, Aishling Moloney, so stick around.
Study with Deakin and be prepared to redefine what it means to work in sport. So if you want to turn your passion for sport into an impactful career, get ready to push the limit. Head to deakin.edu.au.
And we are back, and I would like to welcome our guest for today, Aishling Moloney. Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
Good. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I've been watching last week. Are quite impressive.
It's good.
Trying to live up to you now will be another
plenty.
question.
Well, Finchie did very well last week, but we've got high expectations for you. We all saw you at the season launch, and we've just mentioned how well you speak on a microphone. So look forward to hearing you.
What's your initial thoughts with the headphones on? Do you like hearing yourself in them?
I feel like I'm shouting.
To be honest, it's the best sounding thing when you have your headphones on the podcast, I have to admit.
Best. Yeah, everyone sounds so clear. I even sound clear.
You do. Now, I think back to the top final, Belle. I was on the podcast with Meg, and we were talking about you coming over, and we started talking about nicknames, and we were trying to come up with some nicknames for yourself and Anna Rose. And Jake, actually, here, who organises the podcast, was mentioned Lingy. And we were straight away like, yes, that's it. Obviously, tell us about your number and the connection to Cameron Ling. When did someone tell you about this, and how do you feel about the nickname Lingy?
Yeah, so back home in Ireland, I didn't realise that, on our team it's 1 to 30. So I didn't realise that you could have any number from 1 to 100, is it?
I assume so.
You can have up to 1 to 100.
My number back home will be 11 or 14.
Yes.
So when I seen they were gone, I was a bit like, oh God, this is a bit of a new step for me now, because all my years playing football back home, I've been 11 and 14. And Dad, the scout who's been over from Ireland, you've met him, he was just like, I want you to be 45. I was like, grand, thought nothing of it, no problem. Didn't really think, grand. Didn't really think too much into it. And I think it was either Jake got in touch with me to ask me as to why I chose 45. So I said I'd text Enda, and he was like, the reason I chose it was because of Cameron Lingy. So I was like, God, I don't really know who Cameron is at this stage, but yeah, we'll go with it. And then I come over here, obviously got to know Geelong a bit better, the club a bit better, and Cameron is a bit of a big deal. So I feel a bit of pressure now wearing this number going around that it's something I should live up to. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. The hair colour suits as well.
Suits and Aishling, we were like, Aishling, Lingy, the hair colour, the number, and it certainly suits, and it's stuck, and you're feeling good about it, you like it, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like 45, Lingy, vibing, Aishling, Lingy.
Have you met him in person yet?
I've seen him in a distance. Kinda, even though, I haven't seen him play much, I'm kind of a bit fangirling him. I've heard so much about him. But
you
yeah,
have to watch some
cool.
highlights.
Yeah, and even when we got the jumper presentation the other night, it was quite cool. I really know what the number is about now, and no pressure. Aishling just ended up just going with the flow, as in, it wasn't intentionally Aishling. It was meant to be Lingy, but look, we'll go with it.
We love it.
It does work well, because I feel like we're still, around the group, trying to find the right one for Anna Rose.
Yeah.
Nickname. We've tried Kenny. I'm not sure if she really actually likes it. She likes Ark and Arky, but we don't quite say it the same way you guys say.
How do you say Ark?
It was funny, the first night we were here, Belle, I remember, she was asking Anna Rose what her nickname is, and we were like, Ark. And Belle was like, Ork. And Anna Rose was like, no way, that sounds like a seal. So yeah, Anna Rose is hard to please with her nicknames. She's a bit of a fussy character.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, you'll get there eventually. You'll break her down.
We'll find something. Well, Lingy, you did touch on there around coming over and learning, a bit more about the club and what it's about. I would love for you to share with the listeners, I think the first game that we came here to watch together, you spoke a bit on the feeling when Dan and Meg came over, of just that feeling that they gave you when you did, decide that Geelong was the club you wanted to come to. And then I guess the transition of coming over and I guess seeing that from a, bigger picture perspective of what that's like here at the club and the transition. From your perspective and your words, I would just love for you to share that, because you spoke so beautifully on it.
So the first introduction I got, I suppose I met Dan and Meg in a hotel in the middle of nowhere in Tipperary. It was all kind of low-key, because back home in Ireland, it's a bit of a taboo topic, players coming over here, because it's such a small cohort back home, especially in a county like Tipperary, we're relying on a few players, and we're actually the biggest county to have the most AFLW players over here. There's 5. Yeah, so that's quite impressive. Obviously not for Tipperary, but quite impressive that we're all over here. But it's mad. I've been on to Mum and Dad quite a lot, and they're like, you're trying to explain to them what this club is and what the facilities are like. And I'm like, I can't tell you till you come over. I remember the first day we walked in here, me and Anna Rose were literally like mouth dropping. Even this warm-up area, we were like, oh my God. Everywhere we turned, we were, oh my God, oh my God. And it's funny, even the S&C back home wrote to me, saying, best of luck on everything. And she was like, don't get used to what you're at over there. Because, I'd love for you to see what we train in back home. And I think that's why it makes us Irish girls so appreciative of what we do when we come over here, or what you have even. I'll never, ever get used to it. But, it's been just crazy, like Dan and Meg coming over. I suppose the first time I was approached was back when this competition was 2 years old by Brisbane. So I was kind of over and back between a few clubs the last few years, and I just liked when Dan and Meg came over, you know, Dan wasn't kind of too much on my case. He was very chill out vibes, and, you know, I loved his whole, the hands going and the crack was hands. And, you know, I think Dad went drinking with him for the weekend, and that was also a great sign. And yeah, look, obviously amazing clubs who were in touch and stuff, and I don't know, it was just something about Geelong had it for me. And even when I asked Mum and Dad after them speaking to other clubs, they just said Geelong. There was no question asked. So I was like, well, if they're saying Geelong, it has to be Geelong. So here I am now, yeah, so it's mad.
So good. And you're here and you've just played your first game of AFLW, a goal on debut if you don't mind. How did it feel, the running out there, the preparing for the game, and then that goal and the whole team getting around you? Can you talk us through your first game?
Yeah, I was mad. I suppose, you know, when you take kicks here, I think you call them kicks, is it? Marks, kicks, snags.
Yeah, snags, goals.
Yeah, so back home in Ireland, I would be the free taker. So, you know, I would take that mark wherever it is on the pitch. So for me, that's been my whole life, taking moments like that, and in down moments of the game, draw game, you know, I have to put the ball over the bar. That's what we call it back home. So for me in the Adelaide game, I know it was quite a long range out, but I would crucify myself with them kind of things because I am a kicker back home. So that's my main job. So I suppose since the Adelaide game, I've been out and training like an hour and a half beforehand with Brucey, and we've been going through routines and stuff. So for me that day, obviously it was unbelievable to score my first goal, but that's something that I take so seriously, and it's something that I would hold very highly to myself, that I know it's a different kick. You know, back home we call that a punt kick, but we hook kick at home, so like your snatch or your snap. Snatch. Yeah, so you know, I'd be so critical of myself in terms of kicking. So that's something I pride myself on back home. So when I got that first goal, or that mark in front of goal, first of all, I was slagging Jackie, being like, thank you very much. You know, you could have kicked that yourself, but you gave it to me. And I just gave her a little touch, like, thanks, Jackie, for that, you know. But I remember just standing there being like, oh my God, I have to get this. I've put so much practice into this the last 2 weeks that I will be furious if this doesn't go over. So anyways, went over, and I was kind of like, I don't really remember it. I was like, did that actually just go over? Because I was putting so much thinking in to keep the ball straight, just compose yourself. Brucey said 5 steps. So yeah, it went over, and it was just so cool to see everyone just get around. And like, I suppose back home it's a bit different like that. You know, when you do things like that, it's just next ball. But here it's like high-fiving.
You did say that. There's a lot of high-fiving.
Yeah. The celebration song came on. What was your song? I was in the moment.
Yeah, so it was funny. It was an Irish song. It was funny because Jodie back home said it to me, because we were I said I'd do it just in case I scored. Didn't think I'd score anyway. But it's like a diddle-I, diddle-dum, diddle-I, diddle-dum. It's just
well, and you almost had a couple of, like, you had another 2 shots on goal, so it wasn't just luck that you just had that one shot. And we've seen you practicing and the ability that you have had in, like, changing the kicking technique. And I remember you saying, in terms of kicking straight, is something that you just don't do in Gaelic.
No, like when we were growing up, if you see a child kicking, punt kicking we call it, it's completely, you're kind of regarded as a bad footballer. So, you know, hook kicking back home is always the skill, and I never would have ever punt kicked a ball. So for me, I remember meeting Rachel first day and having to, like, even structurally put my body straight. It was such a struggle for me, and she did such laughing at me. And I remember at one stage we were on a GA pitch, and I just caught the Sharon and booted into the ditch back behind the post, and I was just getting so mad at it. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting a bit more of the hang of it. Even Becky the other day, you know, keeping the head down. Simple things that you kind of know that you just need to keep people to keep reiterating to you to keep doing the simple things right.
Yeah, but you took that composure and to slot it through. We're really proud of you, and I know that was just a feeling amongst the group. We know that you can do that, and we're excited by what else you can do throughout this season.
No, it's so good to see you out there, Ash. Before the game, do you want to talk us through a little bit about your jumper presentation? I know your mum and dad were watching from home. What time would have that been at home as well when they were on the live stream? And how did it feel sort of running out, playing this amazing AFL sport that we know is so important to our culture here in Australia, without having your family right there? Did you feel that emotion when your family was online, and how did it feel when they weren't actually in the crowd as well?
Yeah, so first of all, I think I've touched off this one already. Obviously, any Irish girl that comes over here appreciates that when we come over, you know, it's a bit in the middle of your season, and I can understand that. I'm a competitive sports person myself. As I've said at the season launch, I'd be annoyed if someone did that back home. So, you know, everything that we do here, obviously we know the pride that it is in this club, and you know, I've learned that now already from day one, and you know, there is an apprehensiveness of you. Even, you know, when I was starting here today, I was like, hardly this is happening already, you know, because obviously in my head back home, you know, you earn your jersey, and to me, I'm like, I'm only here 4 weeks, have I really, or 5 weeks, have I really earned the jersey? That's just loyalty, is the way we roll at home. And you know, when Dan said it to me in training, you know, I probably didn't act shocked, but I actually turned around and had a few of these ones, because I was like, if I keep talking to him here, I'm going to start crying. And I think it was just the whole experience of leaving home. You know, mum and dad, I'm known as home bird, and mum and dad, everyone back home knows me, mum and dad are like stuck to each other. I have 2 older brothers as well. They'll probably slag saying they don't really get a look in, but yeah, I was actually gas. I was late coming in, and I was like, sugar, everyone's in the warm-up area, run, get the boots. And next thing I turned the corner and I was like, are they actually on the screen? I didn't know. And I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that could happen before the game. And I was like, this is so lovely, but like, oh my God, get them off the screen. I think Mel Bragg turned to me and she was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, this is embarrassing. But I didn't mean to say embarrassing. I was like, I don't know what, like, it wasn't embarrassing. I was just trying to throw it off as in I'm okay, but I was really emotional. And the reason I was really emotional is that, you know, since I've been a young girl, mum and dad have like done everything for me in terms of sport. Like, would have in college, would have went to Dublin, would have been quite expensive. You know, they would have put their jobs on the line and stuff. And I didn't have to work growing up in college. And it was just, you know, we had experience growing up as a family. Our business would have went bankrupt, not bankrupt, but like our business didn't go well one year, and it was just a really tough period. I never forget Dad standing in the sit room and being like to me, you know, you're literally the thing that's keeping us going. And everything that I do, even being here, like when I saw them on the TV, I was like, oh my God, Mum was crying. And Rachel Kearns was slagging me, being like, your mother was wrecked, and you could see her doing these ones. But she was actually trying to hide her tears, because she'll always wear sunglasses when she's here. When you'll see her, she's coming over, she'll wear sunglasses, because she always just wishes that her parents were here to see me play.
Aww.
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it kind of, yeah, so it kind of threw me, to be honest. You know, I was like out in the warm-up, and I was like, God, if I knew this was happening, I would have said no. And not no because of, like, you know, obviously it's unbelievable, but just because I knew it would throw me emotionally. So even Erin said it to me walking up steps, and she was like, that's so great. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just after forgetting about it. She was like, I'm so sorry. So there's a bit of a background story to that, you know. Even when I left, you know, I would be a big helper back home in our own family business, and there's just a lot of kind of normal stuff that everyone goes through, but like something that I just really appreciate, and really appreciate what my parents have done for me.
That's so beautiful. And you even touched on it, like that moment out on the ground when you got to say it, and, you know, really publicly, I think was so beautiful. And as you said, everyone has their stories, but you also, it doesn't get old in hearing someone's individual story of how they get there and how much it means to them. It's just, you've touched on that so beautifully.
Yeah, and even when I got called over for the interview, like, I knew Mum and Dad were sitting at home, and I'd say the interviewer thought I was arrogant because I just couldn't talk. And I was like, how am I going to bring myself together knowing Mum and Dad now are looking at this? And Mum even said it to me, like, I wouldn't really get emotional in front of them. And I rang her afterwards, and 2 of them, and like, Dad was even crying the one morning. She says, and Dad never cries. And, you know, I suppose I just probably have brought such joy to them, you know, in the last number of years, and, you know, things at home with football and going to events and things that I've been successful at myself. But, you know, we have like the All-Australian, the All-Stars at home in Ireland, and I would have been nominated for them 2-3 times, I think. But, you know, I'd go there and I'd just sit at the table and look at Mum and Dad. I wouldn't care if I got an award. If I got an award, it would be like, here you go, this is yours, it's not mine. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm destined, that I'm like their minder. Like, you know, I slag them. Our group chat name is called the Nursing Home. It's me, Mum and Dad. I feel like I'm destined to like be there for them 24/7, and they kind of know that too. So they're coming over. I was
going to say they are going to come over. So when are they flying out?
So Dad hasn't been abroad since his honeymoon 36 years ago.
Oh my God. You'll have to show him the ropes. You've been up the coast a few times now.
I know, yeah. So, you know, obviously the first thing we'll have to show him is a kangaroo, because that's what everyone wants to come to Australia. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for sharing that. I know that's the emotion and the rawness of how it feels to play first game, but also your family being so far away. But we are excited to meet them in the not too distant future. You've done very well. You've spoken very well, setting a high standard for the future guests of the pod. So thank you. we're going to head into a little segment we like to call Which Cat Is That? Now, for those that are listening at home that didn't tune in last week, the way this segment is working is Becky and G are taking on the guest. The scoreboard at the moment is guests are on 1, Becky, unfortunately, on 0 and G on 0, with the guest taking
I'm
it
going to
out.
hold off with my guess.
I reckon
I got
G's
so
negative
much
1.
feedback last week.
G was early on the buzzer, and we've got to have guesses. That's the way that this game plays.
Maybe just remember the first clues and then you might get a little bit closer.
Now, a bit of feedback from myself. I was going a little bit too fast, so going to slow the pace down on the clues, and I will be hiding these from G so she can't see the answers. But play along at home. So the way this will work, there's 8 clues in total. If we get that far, everyone will have your own buzzer. So it can be a name, it can be a sound, whatever you like. If you think you know who the player or the cat is on our team, you buzz in. And then you guess, and I'll tell you if you're correct or not. Becky, do you want to test your buzzer out for us?
Becky.
Lingy, great.
G.
G, great. We love the names here. All right, let us kick off. Which cat is that?
I feel like I'm at a
Wait,
disadvantage
am I?
here.
Wait, do you know? Oh, okay. Wait, do I need to cover my eyes?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
great.
you're actually fine.
Yeah. Wingy, if you get this
just to
over
be
us,
safe.
I'm going to be very...
Okay, all right.
Mad.
Clue 1. This cat did not grow up in Geelong. This cat has never been drafted. So they've been picked up, but they haven't been drafted. This cat played for another AFLW club before coming to the Cats. How's the pace?
This is good pace.
All right, good. This cat has played alongside 5 AFLW captains and players from 13 AFLW clubs
Oh, God.
in football. This cat knew my brother before they knew me.
Buzz. Oh, Becky. Buzz.
Did you say Buzz?
I'm going to say Spud, Kate 7. No.
It's not Spud.
Someone-
Actually, Spud does did know my brother.
I
They went to
remember
university
it.
I
together.
remember you telling me this story.
I know this person.
Yeah, I know it
All right,
too.
we still going?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. This cat has lived with 4 AFLW players.
I really want
So
to go.
Becky's out. She's already had her guess. You only get one guess, so just
And we
so
got
you
2
know.
more clues.
Got 2 more clues. This cat signed on the same day as Julia Crockett Grills.
Wait, can oh,
Got
you've
one
got
more
them.
clue.
Okay.
Buzz in if you want to. I'm going to go to last clue.
I feel like I know who it is, but I'm nervous.
You've told
'cause-
me this story.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
great.
which is really
Let's
annoying.
go to the last
All
clue.
right, you ready? I'm going to need some help, Becky, on who says their name first. You ready? This cat is the first to come into the club, but the last to leave.
G?
I was going to say...
Is it Meg?
It is Meg McDonald. We did get all the way to the end.
Wow.
Meg McDonald. So,
Nina's down there
gosh, I
pointing.
was-
That's Elsie.
oh, so she didn't grow up in Geelong. She's not been drafted. So she was at Western Bulldogs prior
my
to coming
God.
to Geelong.
I feel like
and
that
was
one.
in a,
That one threw me because I nearly went Dubs again. Because didn't she?
I
know your
almost
brother?
went Derby as well.
And I thought,
and
no,
then I was
I don't
like,
think
she's going to
Dubs knew
stitch
her
me up
brother.
twice if I go
yeah,
Dubs
same.
again.
I was like,
But then Jules Crockett, I'm like, it's someone outside of our Geelong. Well, obviously,
Yes.
because they didn't grow up in Geelong. but-
Raging.
Yeah.
I
And so
remember
she-
you telling me that story.
yeah, Meg. Yeah,
So
Meg.
how did
so
she
Meg
know your
played tennis
brother?
with my little
Oh,
brother
there you go.
back in the day. So she knew him, and then obviously when we started chatting, and I think Jacket came to an event. She's like, Jackson Smith. Oh, that's my. We used to play tennis when they were younger
so
together.
Meg didn't get picked up in a draft. How would that work? Do you just
So she was part of, I think, the early
inaugural
rookie,
or
maybe
something?
even
Oh, okay.
for the initial for Western Bulldogs,
Yeah.
and then she was part of our early signing. So for the AFLW when we first came to the competition, so didn't actually go to the
Yeah,
draft.
wasn't it
Yeah.
like a what were they called?
I
like
think it's
a-
just like an early signing, like yeah. So pre.
I thought it was like a kind of like a marquee. Was it
Yeah,
like
well, there was a
marquee
number of us that
player?
just got signed pre. So we came from the VFL and Meg, I think.
Well done,
yeah,
Nat.
Well,
I know,
good.
yeah,
They
we
were
did a trick to this
good.
morning.
Yeah.
So that is.
4 AFLW players. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Who
So
should
she's
have-
lived
Darcy.
with. Darcy Vesio, Rach. she said Bowie lived with her for a little
she
bit.
did.
and
When she came in, I think it was like, wasn't it like a week Bowie was with her?
Yeah, she was only a short time, so we thought we'd want trick you on that one. And there's somebody else, I can't remember. We'll have to ask her later. But she was like, and then she's played with a number of players. Obviously, she played at Darebin, which a number of AFLW players came through, and then obviously at the Western Bulldogs as well. So we thought she might have played with every Victorian club, but there's, I think, Hawthorn she hadn't played with someone from. Anyway, so Meg McDonald, our captain,
great.
well done. So point
Good
to G for the week. Well done, G.
I think I redeemed myself. Well, that was a very hesitant guess.
Who were you thinking, Lingy? Who were you thinking?
I see, like, obviously I don't know the ins and outs, so I was like, ew, I'm on a disadvantage here.
Yeah.
I was like,
We tried to pick someone that you spent a bit of time with.
I
Obviously, I'm like,
know,
maybe
but
Meg's told you some of these stories.
no, it was raging. I was raging because you told me the story literally about 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I know this person. Who is it? But look, we have to spread the scores around.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We love it.
Becky, maybe next week. But no, thank you, Lingy, for coming on and for sharing a little bit more about yourself. And we are so excited that you came on board and by your first game and what you've been able to do already. And cannot wait the way that you continue to develop. And we know the investment that you put in, the time you put into developing your game. And there'll be plenty more through the bar or through the big sticks goals, I'm sure, in future weeks. So we'll be back after a short break with Rankin with Rankin. Support our AFLW program and the development of women's football today with an AFLW supporter membership. Plus, enjoy access to 2 AFLW home and away games in 2023. Access to Cats AFLW games, a Cats Shop voucher valued at $20, member perks from the Cats and our partners, and get all the latest Cats news direct to your inbox. All for just $50. Visit membership.geelongcats.com.au for details.
Alrighty, and we're back for Ranking with Rankin. I still feel like there should probably be like a little jig to go with it. Maybe I'll come up with something creative next week. So, Ranking with Rankin. This week I've actually pulled you guys into it with me because something special about round one. We've obviously gone on about it a little bit, but plenty of time for more. So this week we're going to do our top 3 feel-good moments from round one. And it's good. We've cross-checked with each other, but I also thought it'd be nice because, I mean, if I'd done it, I start off in the, I'm in the back line. So my start in terms of that, when we have our line meeting, it's just a different perspective to obviously Nay in the forward line, in the midfield, forward, wherever you get thrown to be honest. And then Becky, having that different experience being in the crowd. So best that we hear from all of us. So I'll kick us off.
Yeah,
and
start us
then
off, G.
We'll go on from there. So I'm starting off, and I have changed this slightly. My notes are all over the shop. Here we go. So number 3, as I said, being in the back line, we've touched on Abby McDonald. It was her debut. And so she said when she got here, everyone started going, oh, you're feeling nervous? And she goes, I hadn't really thought about it. Now I'm feeling a bit nervous. But we've had all the lead up, a bit of a kick around, and then we come and sit down for our line meeting. And I would have loved to get a little snapshot of it. But she has this position she goes here where she fully leans back, elbow on the ground. It's like she's down the beach lying on her towel. She just crosses her arms and looking at Flinny, and Flinny goes, geez, it's nice to see our first gamer so relaxed. Once she was in with her people, and she knows how to play footy, but there's just, I think we were talking about her shower routine. She was just in her own world, so relaxed. And she said it herself, she's like, well, I may as well be relaxed. I'm about to go out there and there's a lot of atmosphere.
Love it.
So for me to see someone who's coming in for their debut and just be going, well, there's no point getting too hyped up right now. I'm just with my people. I'm chilling out. And then as we saw, she played so well. So for me, that was that came in at number 3 of just a little feel-good moment with Abs. Number 2, which sent us all spinning almost when we first walked into the change room, was we all had these little blue cards sitting in our locker with our names on them, the number in the top right corner. And when you opened it up, an individualised little message, whether it was, I think mine said, like defensive beast, and, Nina, there was a few competitive beasts in there, or work rate, or, you bring this energy. And each person had their own that was so unique to them that you went, it's someone who knows us really well. I think even Darcy said hers was specific to something that she had only shared with Dan. So we ended up finding out that he just had beautiful handwriting that it threw us all.
Primary school teacher in him.
Teacher handwriting. But for, as we mentioned, he choked up early, but the connection that Louth has with us as players is so strong So for him to go out of his way to write a little card for each person, make it individualised, it was a really special moment. And we took a long time to figure out who it was. But I just thought that was such a special touch in lead up to round one. And then rolled into his chat, which, we all probably felt the feels in that one.
So cute.
Coming in at number one was, and I would love to get the vision up for this, because it was after Shiri's goal and she turns around to Aishling. So it was perfect because Aishling was our guest. I should have spoken to her about it. And she just points at her, and the energy of them then embracing each other. It was a goal assist. Shiri kicks it and she just turns around. It's like, yes, that's it. That's the stuff. And it was such a beautiful moment. What people might see as, it was just one goal celebration out of so many. But I just think it really epitomised how we feel about each other, how we feel about those moments, and the way that we celebrate the contribution from each person, to make us perform at our best. When someone else sets us up or lays a block or whatever it is, I watched it back multiple times. I did a little screen recording. I sent it to a few people. It was just a really special moment that I think captured everything. So
Love it.
that sat as my number one.
So good.
Stunning.
So good. If I lead into mine, Becky, there's so many, isn't
There
there?
is so many. We were
It's
talking
so
about
challenging to pick. But my number three was Spud's first goal. I think we've all seen the work that she's done in the preseason and the way that she's come into our team and the way that she started the game. She was just everywhere, and we've talked about that with her being the high performer of the game. But the first goal, it was just like she just deserved to get a goal and to start her campaign in that way. And I think that obviously she got a second one, which was great as well. But the first goal and then everyone getting down and getting to celebrate with her was really special and that feel good that we talk about. Number two for me, my next two are a little bit personal, but we said that was okay.
No, we love it.
My first
We
game
love
back
that.
for a while, I was like, these two moments for me. But watching Ez alongside her and then also from the boundary, just going about her game, her follow-up tackles as the size that she is, and she was just
Nailing them.
putting her body on the line and nailing them, which was so good. And then allowing our mids to go to work. At the very end of the game, we just ended up next to each other and we just had this big cuddle. Actually, I think it was someone sent me a photo of it post-game because it was captured in the video of the game. And it was just us cuddling and we just said to each other, we did it.
That connection,
Sorry,
we
I
both
just
didn't
got
know.
chills.
Goosebumps.
Obviously we both worked and we've been checking in with each other throughout the preseason and chatting when the times were a bit hard and the sacrifices and all the rest when the kids are sick and so forth. But we always were like, mate, let's just keep working, do what you can do to control what you control and we'll see and when the time comes. And the fact that we got out to run out there together and to play together, it was a special moment.
Yeah.
Number one for me was post-game. Obviously, it was really great. The crowd was great and the kids on the sideline and the moments you're able to have with the people that came along to the game and the way they were celebrating. But for me, my husband, Tony, brought down Parker to the sideline and to be able to give him a little cuddle, I don't think he really knew what was going on, but to give him a cuddle and then to bring him into the rooms post-game and come along for the song. I watched along us singing the song last season a number of times, and obviously towards the back of last season, I was missing out on getting a game because I was up for selection, and I was just dreaming and hoping that one day I would get a game and that we would get a win and that I would get to bring him in. I hoped that he wouldn't cry, and he didn't. He was a little trooper. He was high-fiving everyone left, right and centre. But, I dreamt of that moment and got to have it. So, for me, that was my feel-good
Oh my gosh,
moment.
Renee.
So cute. I feel like I should have gone second because
so we could finish with that. That was
so stunning. That seeing, the kids and you guys come in was definitely one of my highlights. But was so magical to sort of, you know, you've worked so hard to get back, and same with theirs, and now that you get to celebrate that with your family. I remember the first time Darbs got to do that too, so special. My 3, 2, 1, my first one is just being in the race before running out with you girls. It was I love that moment as a player, and being able to like cheer you girls on running through their first game and at home is always just such a special one. So that was my 3. My 2 was, again, Spud's first goal, but watching Meg run from fullback to get to her and give her a nice little high five and cuddle. I reckon I've joked with Meg before, and she goes, God, I need to make more of an effort of doing that and get around the girls. So
well, they've got a long way back. It's like, get to the square.
Actually, I think when Aishling kicked her first goal as well, I watched Gunj probably get a high-speed insert run, getting to Aishling to get a high five off her. But watching Meg get around Spud, that was my number 2, and my number 1 was watching Abby interact with the fans post game. She's just such a little. You just want to squeeze her. She's so cute. But it was just so nice watching her sort of, with the big beaming smile, we've won the game. She was around sort of her people that came and supported her, and then also the other fans that were saying, good work, Abby, well done. And I just remember sort of being an 18-year-old myself, and just that moment of, you know, people know you and you're playing at the elite level, and she just smashed it. So it was so nice watching her interact with the fans after the game.
Oh.
But there were so many.
There was so many. Oh. Yeah. We were talking about ages. We thought, do we throw in some honourable mentions?
I know.
There really is so many, and I think it's nice to get that inside. Nay, I love that you took a personal one. That's just, you know, you can only articulate it the best. Like we try and give you the recognition that you deserve, but only you can really articulate how that really felt. So don't get emotional again.
No more tears. I think Dan will
no more. I can't.
Tell me to harden up again.
I was about to say, like, stop crying. Stop crying. But that rounds out our ranking with Rankin, and pretty much the end of the potty, but we better quickly touch on, we are off to Sydney.
Off to Sydney.
So that's Friday.
How fun are interstate trips. I'm so glad we obviously got to do Adelaide before. Round 2 against the Swans. Meant to be pretty good weather, touch wood. Yes. And just to be around the girls again for a couple of nights. How nice.
I did love Abby. We've probably spoken about Abby McDonald a little bit, but she did go, we've got a holiday this weekend. I can't wait to spend more time with you. I'm like, I don't know if we call it a holiday, but we'll go with that.
And they had a good game
they had
yesterday.
their first win. Had some great support behind them. So
that was that you mentioned this morning. The video of them with the men that was really cool. I mean, we know what it's like to be an expansion club, and you know, and to get your first win and that sort of thing. So seeing that, it was such a feel good video.
It was. Keen to smash them though.
Yeah, that's a little shout out they get. And now we go into game mode.
Absolutely, exciting times ahead. And
that is it for another episode of Yeah the Girls. So thank you for listening, and thank you to our sponsors, Deakin University. Thank you, Georgie and Becky, for another great pod, and to Aishling again, as we know. Amazing what she can share with us. And
it's going to be exciting.
Just exciting. We see every week she continually improves, and what she's done in one round is amazing. So thank you. We will see you next week.
See you next week, guys.